Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Can we get a creepy shit we found in the woods thread? Haven't seen one in a while. 13 years old on an annual camping trip with Dad. Usually camp at an actual campground, but I beg him to go someplace actually wild for once. We wind up in a fairly secluded area of woods in northern Pennsylvania. The first few days go by without incident. The third night we hear noises in the woods. Something moving around out there. Dad gets out of the tent and tells me to stay put while he investigates. He brings the emergency flare gun we always take on our trips. I hear what sounds like a man's voice. I can't make out what's being said. I hear Dad call out to him. Several minutes of silence, then a low and long sort of moan. Dad pops back in to say he thinks someone might be hurt out there. He grabs the med kit and tells me to stay put again. Minutes pass. My dumbass self gets impatient and exits the tent to go search for him. I hear a yell and see a flare fired off way deep in the woods. Dad comes sprinting back, visibly shaken and white as a sheet. He packs up our shit then and there and tells me to wait in the damn truck. We peel out and drive into the night. Dad refuses to talk about what happened on the trip back home or why we left in such a hurry at 2 a.m. I never get the story out of him. He's a pretty tough guy. I still wonder about what the hell happened out there. He also flat out refused to go camping outside of a well-occupied campground from then on. I've assumed it was a bear or something. Another story, 22 years old. I decided to go camping with 5 of my best college buddies outside of Oneonta, New York. It's the second night of our weekend excursion. We're all gathered around the fire, dicking around and trying to scare each other. Friend 1 says, "Hey, does anyone else hear that?" I assume he's messing with us and I'm about to tell him so when I hear sticks snapping just outside of the fire's light. We assume it's an animal, but call out anyway. We yell some stupid shit and shrug it off. We hear sticks snap again and we all look as a guy steps out of the woods. We say hi and ask what he's doing there, etc. He just stares. We're weirded out, but not overly concerned. 6 of us, 1 of him. Someone asks if he's lost. Still no response. I try to lighten the mood by offering him a hit off the bowl being passed around. He finally speaks, 1 word. Hit. I pat the log I'm on invitingly, thinking that he must be drunk or something. He comes slowly and sits down, very tense the whole time. I decided to introduce myself. We go around the circle and say our names. When it comes to the guy, he pauses and says Greg. My friend Greg speaks up with, "Oh cool, there are 2 of us." We start passing a bottle around and get back to dicking around. Stranger Greg is mostly forgotten. The bottle gets to him. He sniffs it, takes a small sip, and immediately spits it out. We laugh and make some jokes, but he's still just sitting there. I've been trying to get this guy to talk for a while now, and Greg is still his only word. He just stares at me when I ask questions directly to him. Somebody says something funny. We all laugh. He joins in a few seconds later, but it's unnatural, too late and forced out. Suddenly he stands up and walks towards the woods. He looks back and says, "Come," then stands expectantly. We ask the usual questions, where, why, etc. He looks distressed and says, "Come again," then walks back into the night. Some time passes. We decided to hit the hay. We make a few final remarks about the strange guy and head to our tents. I go to sleep. I wake up sometime in the night to take a piss. I see him sitting on the log again in the same spot. I'm sobered up a bit and getting freaked out by this guy. I ask him what the fuck his problem is, and he just stares. I go to the nearest tent and wake up a friend. No way am I dealing with this guy alone. We tell him to piss off and that this isn't funny anymore. He keeps on staring. We decide to move this creepy fuck by force. We each get on the side of him and grab his arms. He lets out a crazy sort of screech until we let go. It sounded downright inhuman and woke everybody up. They start coming out of their tents, and I hear somebody ask if there's a damn mountain lion about. I tell them the creep was back and made the noise when we touched him. He still hasn't moved an inch. Now everyone is freaked out by the guy and trying to get him to just leave. Violence is threatened, we yell at him, etc. He just keeps on staring. We start to wonder if he's mentally handicapped or something. Every time someone tries to touch him, he lets out that god-awful screech. Suddenly, he gets up and says, "Come again." Various versions of "go fuck yourself" are given in response. He walks back into the woods. The rest of the trip goes on without incident. That fucker freaked us all out. I still have no idea who he was, where he went, etc.
I grew up in a pretty typical suburban neighborhood. Yards were small enough that you could look over your yard and into the neighbor's yard easily enough. There was one house that had a big-ass chunk of undeveloped land within its property lines. About half an acre if I recall correctly, which is a lot for Long Island, New York. When we were teenagers, we used to play manhunt, that is, hide and seek, in those woods at night. They were removed enough from the homeowner's house that he had no clue. One night we found this concrete slab in the woods, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet, with a rusty metal door in the middle, maybe 3 feet by 3 feet. Unusual, in that we've spent hours and hours in this little chunk of forest and have never noticed it before. But hey, not impossible. We pried the door open. It was padlocked, but the loop for the padlock was integrated with rust. There was a rickety rusted ladder leading down to standing water, about 12 feet away. The walls were far enough away we couldn't reach them without climbing down, which none of us were about to do because that ladder looked like shit. Plus, these were the sort of friends that would not be above locking someone down there for a laugh. My best guess is it was an old, forgotten bomb shelter.
Last August, I had a pretty freaky vacation overall. My parents wanted me to set up the internet at our cabin in the small town of Overgard, Arizona. So I drove the 3 hours there from Phoenix and arrived in the evening with a shitload of computer equipment and my German Shepherd. The weather was perfect, and you could see every damn star in the sky. I got in bed at around 11 p.m., and weird shit started happening. The cabin is really small. It's a living room, a kitchen, a bathroom, and a bedroom. But trust me, it's all pretty small. And the bedroom has a pretty large window. I hate it when bedrooms have huge windows. By weird shit, I mean extremely subtle at first, like creaks and yawns and normal cabin stuff that can be excused as the wind blowing. But over the hours it got less and less subtle. It eventually turned into knocking on the front door, which caused my dog to start barking frantically, to banging on the window. I seriously want to cry just remembering this. It scared the shit out of me. Eventually, around 3 a.m., I grabbed a flashlight and tied my dog onto a leash and went out the front door, because maybe it's somebody that needs help. The dog started sniffing around and desperately searching for whoever it was knocking, and so I took her off the leash and let her roam around, and she came back as confused as I was. Nothing at all. The sounds went away, and as the sun came up, I slept for a while. Spent all day installing the internet. Had to talk to customer support forever, so it took a long-ass time. And by evening, it was ready to go. No way I was spending the night there again, so I packed everything and left at about 10 p.m. On my way home, a deer jumped out of the forest on the shoulder of the road and wrecked my car hard, banged me up pretty good. But the dog was okay. No service, woods surrounding the road on both sides. Luckily, someone pulled over and helped me out and got me to Payson all right. Was I supposed to die on that trip or some shit?
Being a little shit. Live in a trailer park next to the woods. Walking around in the woods by myself just to pass the time. See two guys out carrying something. It is a big duffel bag. They see me. They drop the duffel bag and start yelling at me to stay still. They're coming towards me. Take off like a bat out of hell towards the trailer park. They're chasing me. Get onto one of the dirt roads. Run to the little laundromat since there are always people there. Guys aren't chasing me anymore. One of the adults in the laundromat calls the police for me. Take them out to where I saw the two guys. Not far from there, they find the duffel bag shoved into a big storm drain. Dead body inside. Don't know if they ever caught the guys. It was the last time I went into the woods by myself ever again.
B18. Last summer, I lived at my mom's place in upstate New York, 6 years ago. The house is surrounded by woods, but I grew up there, so I feel confident when I'm hiking around. I'm leaving for college in the fall and trying to squeeze in as much time and memories in my childhood romping grounds as possible. One day I decide to go for a hike like I have 1,000 times before. Several hours and several miles pass. I always head straight into the woods, directly away from my tiny town since I like my privacy, and always try to explore someplace new. I found a nice tree to sit at. I hear a twig snap behind me. I jump about a foot and spin around. I'm not scared, but there are coyotes, mountain cats, feral dogs, the occasional bear, etc., so I'm always alert. I see nothing. I assume I'm being paranoid. I notice that I must be near something that died a while ago because I catch a whiff of something foul in the breeze. Rotten, meaty, metallic, pungent. My head is still down as I hear another branch snap and again turn to face it. I see something dart into the underbrush maybe 100 yards away. It's large. I didn't catch a good enough glance of it to tell what it is, but big and fast are a combo I don't like. I grab my hiking stick. It's heavy. I've had to beat a sick coyote to death before, and my hiking stick was the only thing that saved my ass from rabies. Now I always bring one. I decide that it's time to get the hell out of Dodge. I hope like hell that it was just a deer, and start heading home, uber paranoid now, and stone cold sober from the sudden adrenaline rush. I get no more than 20 yards when I hear something making an animal noise I've never heard before. I've heard just about every animal noise my area has to offer, by the way. It's shrill and long and loud, like a mix between a mountain cat's scream and a goat's bleat. It sort of warbles too. Unnerving and sounds like it's right. Fucking. There. Yeah, I'm now officially scared. I grab my stick firmer and pick up the pace. I forgot to mention. Part of why I like going by myself is because I like to sing, talk to myself, flesh out ideas aloud, etc. Anyway, back to the story. A few minutes pass, and I'm making good progress, but I'm miles out in the woods. I hear a moan. Sounds almost human, but I very much doubt there are any other people around. Could have been an animal too. I'm still booking it when I hear help. I think I must have imagined it. It was barely audible, and I'm not sure if it was really help or just another animal noise that I warped into a word in my head. But I also know that anything in the woods would have heard my loud walking by now, so I yell, "Hello?" and wait a few seconds. The stench hasn't left my nostrils, and I notice the woods are silent. I tell myself that it's because I just yelled and to calm down and think rationally. I'm scanning the woods around me in a slow 360 the whole time. I hear a distinct, though still low, help again, in the opposite damn direction than I want to go. But I decided to man up and try to find the source. Someone could be hurt, and this far out, they would probably die before help could find them. There's 0 cell service, so it's likely they couldn't call for rescue anyway. I can't just leave some poor guy to die. I scream, "Where are you? Are you hurt?" "Help," again, and nothing else. I continue yelling things like, "Where are you?" and "What's your name?" hoping to locate this poor guy and figure out what kind of shape he's in before I actually get to him. I get maybe half a mile deeper and still have only gotten help and moans as a response. They sound no closer. I'm walking and yelling questions when he finally says something new. "Where are you?" But the way he said it was fucked up, disjointed, emphasis on the wrong syllables, and with no flow. I think this guy must be really damn bad. I call back something to the effect of, "Close to you, describe your surroundings." No response for a while, and I start to fear this guy just bought the farm when I hear, "Follow me." Again, it sounds strange and strikes me as an odd thing to say. I keep walking on and yelling. The next reply makes me stop in my tracks. "Honey, come here." "What? Why the fuck?" "In the woods. Come help me." Now I'm really confused and suddenly very afraid again. The stench still hasn't left, and every damn inch of my body has goosebumps. The person still sounds like they're just 50 yards away, and I've covered at least a mile, maybe 2, since I started walking after this sound. The forest is still silent otherwise. I shake it off. I tried yelling, "Marco," hoping they'll start yelling Polo. I get Marco back instead. Whatever. My lungs hurt at this point, and I don't want to yell any more than needed. I yell Polo and get Polo back. I yell something nonsensical and get a near copy of my voice yelling the same thing. I start thinking it's the locals pranking me and yell something like, "You'd better actually be hurt, this isn't funny." The same damn phrase is yelled back. Once again, I decided that it would be a good time to go home. Whoever is yelling back is just fucking with me. I start walking back quickly. The yelling gets louder and continues to be shit I've just said. Marco and another, "Honey, come here." That one stuck with me for some reason, so out of place. I can hear the occasional stick breaking behind me and sporadic yelling still. I've stopped yelling back and am making the quickest time back home I can. A few miles go by. I'm about halfway back, and it's now beyond doubt that I'm being followed. But I've convinced myself that this is a redneck who doesn't know when to end a bad joke. I hear another unearthly howl from in front of me, the same as the previous. I hear a howl from behind like 2 seconds after. I'm scared again. How can a person make that noise? And whatever it is, there's at least 2 of them. I think it must have scared the redneck away until I heard help again from behind, then again from in front. Fuck this noise. Prank, animal, legit wounded person, I don't care. I start sprinting. I'm already winded. but hell if I'm gonna be caught by something or someone. I ran the whole damn way home. Yelling and occasional scary-ass howls still happen, but at some point, I'm fairly sure both people or things are behind me, since it's only coming from behind. Still nothing but help, since the other voice joined in. I stopped hearing anything when I got about half a mile from home. Until now, I've assumed that it was people fucking with me, but I'm not so sure now. It was in the middle of nowhere, not on any sort of trail, and it wasn't hunting season. I still can't explain how a human could make that screech howl noise, but I do know that it made me want to piss myself. Sorry for the lackluster ending, but that's how it went down.
Once when I was a kid, about 10, me and my siblings went down to the river to do a bit of swimming. The river at the time was about 30 feet across and maybe 8 feet deep at the deepest. The water was murky brown from the speed of the current and the silt. It was also extremely cold at the time, maybe 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so we would swim more horizontally and not let our feet get too deep where it was even colder. As I was swimming around, I noticed a sock partially submerged on the opposite shore. I swam over and picked it up. It had something heavy inside it. I pulled out a revolver. I was pretty young at the time and panicked by throwing the gun into the water. We notified the authorities and the sheriff's office sent someone down to dive and retrieve it. When they dove in, they found a dead man with his feet weighted down with rocks right by where I had tossed the gun. We had been swimming inches above his head all day. Turns out he had been murdered in some kind of gang killing. To my knowledge, they never solved his murder.
I live in the middle of some dense forestry, with just a few other houses around. East Tennessee, near the Smokies, if you know the area. There's some really sketchy stuff that goes on around here to begin with, plenty of drug deals and whatnot. But my house is close to a few more upscale ones, a ways down from the trailers and shacks. I'm on top of a huge hill with a gulch or small valley for a backyard, so I have a pretty good view of the skyline. Anyways, that's all pretty much unrelated, just describing the setting. On 2 separate occasions, I've had people staying at my house describe seeing the same UFO in or around the forest. The first time is definitely the freakiest story. 2 friends crash in my living room. There's a ton of natural light in my house, or in other words, a lot of windows. The living room in particular has nothing but glass doors and several big windows around the ceiling, including a huge one in the loft. Anyways, they wake up in the middle of the night. I'm asleep. The house is shaking. That's how they described it. Purple and green lights are flashing through every window, and there is a continuous sound very similar to thunder. They sit petrified for about half an hour until it abruptly ends. They fall back to sleep. In the morning, they tell me this and freak out because they both thought they were dreaming. I assume they're fucking with me. The second story isn't as strange, but it confirms the first one. 1 year later. Some relatives are over for Christmas. My dad wakes up early as hell as usual, like 4 or 5 a.m. After he finishes his shower, he sees green and purple lights flashing throughout his bedroom. He steps out on the balcony and sees what he describes as a huge rectangle in the sky, rapidly flashing green and purple. He remains very calm, doesn't wake anybody, just watches it until it disappears. Same night, my aunt is woken around 4 by a bunch of green and purple lights flashing through her window. Half awake, she falls back to sleep. Same night. My brother is sleeping on the other side of the house. He wakes up and notices the same lights. Due to his location and the placement of the windows in his room, they're much more faint. He thinks it's strange, but doesn't really think much of it. They all confirm each other's stories that morning. My father's the only one who saw it lucidly or vividly. He's a stoic, quiet, and rational person. Strangely, he believes wholeheartedly in ghosts and aliens. He's completely calm about it, probably because he believes in these things without air. He just says he's not surprised. I should ask the other people living around here about this sometime at the risk of sounding like a lunatic.
Grew up in rural Berkshire, South England. Pretty nice upbringing. My dad is a gamekeeper, so I was set to be a country lad from the off. I would always go out in the woods and wander the estate. I found random things in old bomb craters from World War II, when Jerry pilots needed to dump any excess bombs before returning. Mostly glass bottles, pots, pans. I found 5.56mm shells and an old rusted-out army canteen. I used to find desiccated animal remains quite a bit. Me, my brother, and my dad all found a naked guy running around in the woods once, so we set the dogs on him. I found an old computer once, a cathode ray screen too, though the hard drive had been smashed to shit. I used to go camping a lot as well, since I could. The estate is 7,000 acres of private land, so I sorta had roaming rights for all of that. Me and a few friends, we must have all been around 13 years old or so, set up camp about half a mile from my house. It was a fun night. We snuck booze out, had music, BB guns, etc. We were winding down at about 1 a.m., sat around the fire, trying to keep it lit, though the moon was very bright. A thick, low fog came in and surrounded the camp. It covered about a foot or two above the ground. Just as we were about to turn in for the night, we heard this nasty sound, like a chain or some kind of metal being dragged across gravel coming from the woods. It lasted about 10 seconds. We all just sat, frozen, listening to it. As soon as it stopped, we all noped and carried on with whatever. You could just see my house. No lights were on, not even in the yard, and none of the dogs in the kennels were barking, so it didn't come from the house. We all heard it, and I spoke to one of my friends about it not long ago, and he still remembers it too. Pretty strange.
So the woods on my dad's property had a couple of caches of old burned-out car shells, old decrepit toys from the 60s, shit like that. The whole area of that street is houses built on my stepmom's family's old farm. It was big enough that each kid, and some grandkids, making me a great-grandkid, got a plot of like 15 to 20 acres to build houses on. Across the street are the old barns, a lake, and some bigger fields. So, short story long, I was able to find out that back in the day, if you had a shit ton of garbage, sometimes it was just easier to dump it in the middle of the woods, not knowing that your step-great-grandson would scrape his knee on some rusty metal 50 years later. The woods at my mom's house has an apple orchard in it. It's a new-growth forest, and in this one spot, amongst the random wild-growing trees next to some creeks, are rows of apple trees. The woods at my late grandmother's house had a little shack in the middle of the woods, and a cement foundation of a church we used to play on. That's all I got. There was also this crater we found in the woods, 41.342093 minus 81.728575, by my grandparents' house. It used to fill up with water in the summer, and we'd catch frogs in it. Looks like someone filled it in and built some kind of structure, like a fountain or something. There was also a field in the middle of the woods I used to fly over during my primary flight training, similar to the one at these coordinates, 41.22972 minus 81.19320, except that it was deeper in the woods, with no structures or other fields nearby. I've no idea if it still exists, and couldn't find it in Google Maps, but I always imagined secret gatherings there, like some rich guy owned it, and would bring people there for playing football, growing weed, making moonshine, having orgies, etc. Probably nothing that cool, though, but whenever I've come across an unused field in the middle of the woods, whether on foot or airborne, I'd always be a little put off.
I was walking in our father's forest with my sister, who is 5 years older than me. I was like 7 years old at that time. The forest is quite small. You can basically run across the forest in 5 minutes. It was almost night and the sun had gone down. We found an odd part of the forest. There was a round area where no trees were growing. In the middle of the circle, there was a dead tree stump. As we got closer to the stump, we saw a strange light coming from the stump. We didn't know why the stump was glowing. The stump was also covered in slime, which reflected the green glow of the stump. The stump looked magical. My sister said that we should go back since it's night. I completely forgot this thing. Few days later, I wanted to find that stump again. I went to the same place. The stump had disappeared, or the glowing had stopped, I don't remember.
Deep woods story? I guess I'll share mine then. I returned from solo camping one day, most of me anyways. This isn't some Skinwalker story or some too spoopy 5U story. Anyways, I've gone camping countless times on my own, always in the woods, truck, tent, bag. Maglite, gun, fire, whatever, average camping shit. I've never come across anyone else during my excursions except for once. I had set up camp. I was a lot more in the woods than normal though, just me and my thoughts. Midday I had some victuals. I went out hiking, just taking in the beauty that is untouched nature, calm, relaxing scenery. Then others. A family setting up camp, a father, mother, 2 young kids, probably 9 to 11 or so, closely aged. I stopped. They hadn't seen me due to foliage, so I began watching as they set up their tent, paled around, built a fire. General family bonding time. Now, when you spend as much time alone as I do, you begin to think about things. God, morality, yourself. Morality, certainly an interesting thing. Morality is more of a societal thing, you see, completely perceptive. In America, where I live, women's rights are a moral thing and a complete right to all women. In the Middle East, however, it is not so. The same could be said for stealing. In a thieving-based society, it's completely normal and justified. In America, not so much. Why couldn't the same be said for murder? Well, this deep in the woods, no one comes about hardly ever. So even if someone did die, the scavengers would most likely take care of them before people found them, right? So I kept watching and watching. Eventually it grew dark, so I went back to my camp, and I could not shake that family from my mind. How easy it would be to just say hi and perhaps make friends, or just to ignore them as they never saw me to begin with, or how easily I would go over and shoot the 4 of them and simply pack up and leave, never have it even cross my mind again. So I picked up my gun and began to hike back to their camp, and I came upon their clearing. It was probably nearer 2 a.m. now. They were all dead asleep in their tent, so I just sat there, staring at their tent, running my fingers along the cool metal of my pistol, thinking just how easily I could take their lives and be off. But I did not, as I saw no benefit in it, so I simply left.
There is no paranormal twist to this story. I'm not a ghost. I am not phone. All I'm saying is, I seem to everyone a well-adjusted member of society that simply loves camping and the great outdoors. When in truth, I was a muscle flinch away from murder. If a normal person such as I could do such things, and probably will eventually, who else could? Some food for thought.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.